What's up everybody? Real quick, before we get to the video, this is just an intro for that video. When I was editing all of this content, I noticed I have about 20 minutes of material. And if you're anything like me who has the attention span of a gnat, you're not gonna sit through it all. So I'm chopping it into 2 videos. First one 10 minutes, second one roughly 10 minutes. We're talking about motivation as it pertains to the craftsman or artist or anybody that creates, but it can also apply to everybody in any situation that you're in. So I hope you enjoy. I'm just not motivated, man. Not happening today. Good afternoon. Past couple of days haven't been that great. You know, as many of you know, I suffer from panic disorder and a couple of other issues that I try my best to work through as much as possible. Every now and then it just, it kicks in overdrive and it makes life very, very difficult. One of the things that suffers from that is motivation. It sucks the motivation out of me like you wouldn't believe. That's something that's common with a lot of artists, knife maker, video creator, audio engineer, video, whatever you want to call it. So an artist creating, motivation's a big thing. If you don't have motivation, then what's the point, right? So that's what today I'm just going to briefly go over is my thoughts on motivation for the artist, the knife maker, the painter, the crafter, whatever. How do I get motivated? Now, if you've got some special things that works for you, put them in the comments section. I personally would love to know about them, and I'm sure anybody else watching and reading through the comments would love to read through what you're saying as well. So go ahead and drop some stuff in the comment section. That'd be awesome. Also, while you're doing that, make sure you hit the subscribe button, like the video. It helps out a lot. We're working towards 500 subscriptions, and once we do that, we're giving away this. So let's get right into it. Number 1. First thing that really helps me is not getting overwhelmed, making sure whatever I'm gonna be doing, I'm doing it in short bursts. If I'm struggling right now, I'm not gonna look at everything that I've got on the workbench, all of the back orders that I have, all the side projects that I'm wanting to do. I'm not looking at those as a whole picture because definitely getting overwhelmed and then you're gonna be like, what's the point? I'm just gonna watch YouTube all day and drink coffee, whatever. Putting things into perspective and using short little projects, short bursts of energy to let them snowball eventually and get all of them done when you look back and you're like, what just happened? Keeping things in perspective, nice and small, short. The second thing that helps me dramatically is looking for feedback from other people, whether I've got somebody here at the shop, my wife, somebody online that I can talk to. I need that feedback. Sometimes with certain things, knife making being one of those things, it's very solo, right? You're very closed off. Unless you've got an awesome shop with a bunch of people working with you, it's just you in the shop by yourself. So you got all these things going on and you're looking at it and you're like, I really like it, but I don't know. Or you've got a ton of things to do and you want some feedback on what do you think I should prioritize on, or how do you think I should go on this project? How do you think I should go on that project? Getting that back and forth with a coworker or a teammate, you don't really get that in certain areas, knife making being one. In a bunch of other different areas, there's video production, there's audio production, there's sometimes in photography, depending on what kind you're doing, you got a team, modeling or something like that. Obviously, if you're out in the middle of nowhere doing landscape or wildlife photography, it's just you. But once you get back into the studio and you're going through things, you got other people that hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? What was this setting right? This color correction right? Did I do this part of editing right? Did I crop it right? You can get that feedback, but it's very important no matter what you're doing to just get that feedback. You're always needing someone to reach out to bounce ideas off. So for me, one of the things that helps me is keep contact with people, sending text messages, shooting someone a photo, of a work in progress and saying, what do you think? Give me some feedback. How should I progress? How would you tackle this particular dilemma that I'm in? That helps me break through some of the motivational or artistic writer's block, if you will. Helps me punch through those problems. Moving on to the third thing, and all of these are huge, but this one was massive for me when I first got into knife making. And that is carving out a space in your schedule, figuring out what time of the day works for you best for your creativity process. It kind of goes hand in hand with my personal health, physical and mental. I used to have horrible insomnia, and I mean horrible insomnia. I would not go to sleep until my wife was waking up to go to school. She's a school teacher working at school. So I wouldn't go to bed until about 6 o'clock in the morning when she's waking up, taking off. And then once we had my daughter, I would only get a couple of hours of sleep before she would wake up, and then I'd have to do Mr. Mommy throughout the day, starting just a couple hours after that. So I was, for a good 2 years, I was probably running on an average of about 3 hours of sleep a day. Now that alone would just kill your motivation and your creativity process by itself. But I figured out that the hours from midnight until 6 a.m. weren't good for me. Also figuring out that if I don't get proper sleep, 6 a.m. until about noon weren't good for me. Through diet, exercise, proper mental health training, I have figured out, and this is insane to most of you, but going to bed before the sun goes down and waking up at about 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock is phenomenal. I've got all the time in the morning, mind is fresh, helps me bang out all the kinks throughout the day that I need to. So finding the proper time to use your creativity hyperzone or focused zone or whatever you want to call it, maximizing how your brain and creativity process works, that's essential. Don't try and push it at off-peak times. Ride the wave. Number 4, and this is very critical, and it's a very delicate situation too, because you don't want to be accused of copying or just straight up plagiarizing, but you got to find your inspiration from somewhere. So revisiting those initial inspirations, whether it's a person in your particular field that you look up to and you love what they do. I've got a couple musicians. There's a ton of musicians that I look up to, specifically drummers, being a drummer, and I used to emulate and copy and practice what they did, specifically what they did, to develop my own personal style, but it was based off of theirs. Whether it's knife making, I've got a couple as well. Niels Vandenberg, huge inspiration for me. I don't want to copy his work, but I want to take some of the techniques that I've learned from him and implement them into my work. 1, because I love them, they're amazing, and 2, as a type of homage and paying respect to him, to carrying on the skills that he's passed down. I'd love to do that. And then in the filmmaking, Peter McKinnon. I've learned so much in the filmmaking process from Peter McKinnon. I don't want to do the exact same things that any of them do to make it look like I'm copying them, but I want to revisit that initial inspiration that I got from them to develop and push the envelope of my personal style and my personal craft in all the different areas that I'm working on. So revisiting inspiration to help you get that motivation, that's key. That's key. Another one that is incredibly controversial to some, to others, not so much. And that's sharing your creative process and what you've learned. There are a lot of guys that have their specific styles, their specific creations that they've made under lock and key in a safe, and nobody knows what their secret formula is, or special ingredient, or a particular style or craft, or they've got a hammer, right? It's just a basic hammer, but it's a texturing hammer. It puts a specific pattern and imprint into the blade when you're forging it. But nobody's supposed to know that that's how you got it. Who cares? It's just a ball peen that's scuffed up. No big deal. But everybody in that category has their own thing that they hold on to. Try not to be like that. Share your information. Share the wealth of knowledge that you have in the particular craft that you are doing as an artist. Share it. Life is so much more fulfilling when you are sharing what you're learning and sharing what you've mastered to those that have no clue what you're doing. Help elevate them, progress their education level. Because if everybody had the attitude of, this dies with me, so many amazing things in this world would never be passed down for others to improve upon them and push that envelope of progression and development of the artistry that that particular field is in.